Howdy y'all, Caleb here. We are in an interesting time right now. We're in between editions. We've still got all the 3rd edition rules that we're playing under right now, but we're getting teased a lot of the 4th edition stuff, and that's pretty exciting. So if you're new to Seraphon, welcome, jump on in. If you're a Seraphon veteran, play some fun lists right now. This is the time to play, that Stegadon heavy list you've always wanted to do, or let's go with some Kroxigor. I'm gonna take a Kroxigor list to the next tournament. So have some fun. Today we're gonna talk. I'm just gonna briefly hit on some of the stuff that's been released recently about the new edition, and then we're gonna take a look at some of the best lists of the past month or so, and what's doing really well for Seraphon, because that's still relevant if we're still trying to build a good list for a tournament. It's always nice to see what everybody else is winning with, and then kind of make it your own. So we're going to hit some of the 4th edition stuff just because I want to talk about it. So starting off, we're going to look at a couple of the articles that they had. So this is one of the first ones they released. This is about how the core rules are structured with their kind of modular theme. And I really like this. The one thing that is interesting to me is that you'll be able to plug and play these different little packages of rules, and so hopefully that'll make it a little bit more modular and easier to update without invalidating a bunch of stuff. The one thing I am excited about is Spearhead. This is kind of a smaller scale game where you're taking a single box of, like, the start collecting box, basically. They're going to be called either Vanguard or Spearhead boxes, and play those against each other with some kind of unique rules. I really like that. I think that's a great way to get people into the game, and we have a great Spearhead box, or Vanguard, whatever it's called. Looking over at the one that we have is a Saurus-themed Vanguard box. I really like this one because I'm a big Saurus fan, and so we've got a Carnosaur with the hero. This could also be built as the Troglodon. It's the same kit, so that's pretty interesting. I don't know how exactly they're going to handle that with the Spearhead rules. But it's got 10 of the new Source Warriors and then 3 of the new Kroxigor sculpts. So this is a great box. If you're getting into Seraphon, buy this box because this has the new Warriors, the new Kroxigor, and one of our all-time classic models here, the Kroxigor. And then this will be usable in that new Spearhead formation, the Spearhead game type. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I think that's going to be a fun game type. Hopefully it'll turn out to be pretty fun. But let's be honest, we're going to be spending most of our time with all the match play rules and the General's Handbook. That's where the real strategizing comes into it. So, this list, they had this article on how to build regiments that I think is pretty interesting. And the thing that I'm most excited to see more rules on is this part here. Every hero lists which units they can take in their regiment as part of their battle profile. So I assume that the Saurus heroes will get paired well with the Saurus units. It'll be interesting to see where Kroxigor fall into that. Some on the Skink side, Skinks will probably go anywhere. Guard will go with like the Slon and Croak, you would think. Pterodons and Ripperdactyls will go with their hero. Will Stegadons, will they go into a regiment with like the Stegadon Chief? Maybe there'll be some buffs here. I'm most interested in seeing how these things synergize together. As they go into these regiments, what are those bonuses or buffs that these heroes are going to give to that regiment unit? So that's pretty interesting. I really hope I can build some, thematic armies where I have, like this Saurus contingent going out. It always did feel weird to have, like, a skink priest as my general of a Saurus army. So hopefully there's good enough buffs on each side of our army that we can build some thematic things. It does bring up some, like, interesting list building things. So with these regiments, it feels pretty flexible. So you have one hero and then 3 to 4 any unit you want. No battle line, no behemoth, none of that stuff even matters anymore. So just in my head, I'm thinking, what unit can you spam in Seraphon that's going to be like just overpowered here. Of course, we don't know the Warscrolls, but imagine like back, last edition when salamanders were just incredible. If you could have just taken as many as you wanted with one hero. So I think they're going to have to make sure and balance that correctly so it doesn't end up with like some crazy spammable stuff. I think they even mentioned in here like you can run a full Doom Wheel list with one hero. So there will be some interesting things like that, but I do like how it ends up being in these regiments with the hero. Hopefully there'll be some good buffs. Another big thing is the reinforcement points. You can no longer double reinforce your units. So the big block of like 30 warriors is gone, but I didn't really run it that often in the current edition. 20 felt like about the right amount. Other things might get hurt by that, like if you were running a double reinforced Kroxigor, that's like a big, nice unit of Kroxigor, that'll be gone. But overall, I don't think the loss of the double reinforcement it doesn't really hurt us that bad, I don't think. So I'm okay with that one. So some interesting list building stuff that's going to be brought up. It looks like the number of drops is going to be fairly important. And so getting them into those regiments is going to be critical because you'll get the priority and you'll get extra command point, which is supposed to be really rare in the new edition. So you'll definitely look to fill out those regiments as much as you can. Oh, this one just came out, what was that, yesterday. What's leaving Warhammer Age of Sigmar? I'm not going to lie, I was a little nervous as I scrolled down through this. I didn't anticipate anything from Seraphon leaving, but seeing all of these Stormcasts and especially some of the newer stuff like the Evocators was kind of shocking. Skaven, a lot of this stuff is getting replaced by newer sculpts, so that's not a big surprise. Warcry warbands, rest in peace. Bone Splitters, that's not unexpected. Beasts of Chaos, I know that hurts some of our local club mates here. Losing an entire army is rough. We did make one appearance here with the Source Eternity Warden, which that actually kind of surprised me because that's not actually a unit right now. But what they said here is it's just going off sale. So you can no longer get a Source Eternity Warden. So I think they may still be up there to buy. If you like that sculpt, which I do, I really like the Eternity Warden. Grab that if you want to. You could always run it as like an Old Blood, Source Old Blood on foot. I use that and the Sunblood now as my Old Bloods on foot, just because those models are great. I fully anticipate one of these days, in some update, we'll get the Eternity Warden and Sunblood back in a new sculpt, hopefully. So they are super cool. Just not playable. All right, we also saw the Warscrolls. This one is interesting. I'm a big fan of these new Warscrolls. So I like how they fit all on one card. I've always liked the cards that they produced for the old Warscrolls, but nice tightened up here with the rules being simplified a little bit. I really like these Warscrolls. Liberator one kind of gives us a peek at what they're going to look like. And they're very similar to how they look now, but with some interesting twists. One thing that it does say is while every Warscroll has at least one unique ability to them, which will help define each unit's battlefield role. So, think about that. With what we've got for Seraphon, what are some of those unique abilities that might make it to a Warscroll? As we look at this Liberator one, the things to kind of point out, I'm sure everybody's already seen this, the things to kind of point out that I'm excited about is that control characteristic. Instead of bravery, now we have control. That's very interesting. I've played a lot with Stegodons right now in this edition where they're able to count as 10 on an objective. And this control stat is how much these models count on for an objective. So a very interesting mechanic to play around with. So I'm going to be very interested to see what Seraphon units have good control stats. Does the Stegodon, is that its special ability? Is it going to have a really high control stat? What about some of the other units, like the Saurus Heroes with Sotek's Gaze? Is that gonna make a showing over here where we see that kind of affect the control of these models? So, interesting. Liberators here, I just kind of wanted to point out, we still have the hit to wound. I'm glad that stayed. Personally, I don't like the strength and toughness stuff in 40k. I like the hit and wound. So that's just my personal preference. The abilities here are interesting. We have a crit, which means like a natural 6, an unmodified 6. And then what does it equal into? It equals into a mortal wound. So, my mind's churning here. Like if I'm looking at Source Warriors, what's their ability? Are they going to have an ability like this? Is it going to be on their bites where they do a crit mortal? That might make sense. Do they get a weapon profile for bites now, or is that their special ability or faction ability? I want to see some Warscrolls. Here, the special ability for the Liberators is a passive ability. Stalwart Defenders, they add 3 to their control score while contesting an objective wholly within friendly territory. That's interesting. So now a unit of 5 Liberators is going to count as 20 on an objective. Ooh. So, a Stegodon counting as 10 just may not cut it anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see what all this does. As I'm thinking through passives, I see some of this in our Seraphon battle tome. So like Warriors, they basically have one ability on their War Scroll. The +1 to save when you're on our territory or on an objective. So that could just be copy and pasted over into this new War Scroll. Same for like the Old Blood on Carnosaur. He has basically one ability. I mean, he has a few other abilities, but the one that really matters, you can use a command point twice and it doesn't cost you. So I think maybe our book, since it's not terribly old, may have been written with some foresight of what this is coming. So one ability on each War Scroll. So I'm looking forward to that. You can see we won't go through all this. Y'all already read this. Nagash's War Scroll is pretty nice that they can fit all this onto one card here. And how they work the keywords with like Wizard 9, whatever that means. Maybe that's a spell cast he has. Ward 5-up. I think this is interesting because I would imagine Croak's War Scroll is going to be similarly packed like this. Where Nagash has this one spell, the Invocation of Nagash, that he can cast more than once. That's making me think of Croak. Croak's spell might end up looking very similar to this. So, very good War Scroll. Nagash looks very good. Of course, all that depends on points and yada, yada, yada. So, but it is pretty exciting looking at that. All right. I think that's it for 4th edition so far. That's basically all we know so far. Just a quick highlight there. Let's look at some lists. So, all of these lists that we're going to look at are 5-0s. Made at big GTs over the past month or so. So, I have a couple of Fangs of Sotek lists that went 5-0, and then I have some Koatl's Claw lists that went 4-1. I didn't see any Dracothian Tail lists that went 5-0, or any Thunder Lizard lists that even went 3-2, and no 5-0 Koatl's Claw lists. So, Fangs of Sotek is still, even with the nerfs, it still seems to be doing the best for Seraphon. And still does fairly well into the current meta. So keeps casting those spells, keep doing those mortal wounds until you lose all your friends. All right, the first one is Fonsito. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Took a Fangs of Sotek list in Starborn with Grand Strategy Spellcasting Savant and Triumph Inspired. This one is going to look fairly similar to what we normally see for a Fangs of Sotek list. You'll recognize a lot of this stuff. So we have a Starseer with Blizzard and Speed of Huanchi. So we've got the enhancement spent on spells, I assume. Probably. Doesn't have it listed on this one. Slann Starmaster with Lord of Celestial Resonance, Space Folder Stave, Comet's Call, Rupture, all good stuff there. Pretty standard. Still going with the Lord of Celestial Resonance, so it's still getting the extra summoning points. Lord Krug, he's got some spells on here. I don't think that's correct. You don't need those listed on there. He knows all his spells. Source Astrolith Bear and a Skink Star Priest with Cosmic Crush and Horror Frost. So who's our general? Slann. So keep Slann alive with Spellcasting from Savant, and you get 3 points at the end of the game. We have a unit of Skinks, a unit of Guard, another unit of Guard, and 10 Raptidon Chargers. I've seen 10 Raptidon Chargers pop up quite a bit. If you position them just right, since they have pretty small, the smaller cavalry bases, you theoretically can get all 10 into combat if you do those weird formations. So that's worth doing if you've got the patience or like movement trays for that kind of thing. Otherwise, it makes a pretty good unit to resurrect models from if some of them get killed. But that is, 20 wounds on a 5-up save. It is very fragile, so make sure that thing doesn't get hit before you have a chance to get them into combat. Some in the spell, Suffocating Gravetide, good for hitting hordes and taking up a lot of territory. Shards of Valagar. This is an interesting one. I don't think I've seen this one all that often, but it's a good spell for preventing movement. And that's always good for Fangs of Sotek because, you're trying to extend your castle out, keep the opponent from moving too far into your stuff, and controlling the board while you're doing mortal wounds. So Shards actually helps out a lot with that, so I like that one. Maelstrom is still taken. And we've got Antorian Acolytes and Warlord Battalions. So a good list, a fairly standard Fangs of Sotek list. Still takes a very good general to do well with this. So it's not an easy list to play, even if it is, fairly standard for what we see in Fangs of Sotek. So good stuff there. The next one is Matt Beasley, and he went 5-0 with Fangs of Sotek also, Spellcasting Savant. We've got a Starseer with Merciless Blizzard, a Slann Starmaster, Master of Magic, Space Folder Stave. So we got a new command trait here, a little different one. Master of Magic is an interesting one, so he can do a little bit better at the magic phase. I think we can get out of the Lord of Celestial Resonance if you want to, and so that with it getting nerfed, it offers us some other abilities that we can, our other command traits that we can put on the Slann. So I like that. Space Folder Stave to get that get the 7-inch deployment from Ambush, and then spells Comet's Call, Lord Croak with Comet's Call, which you don't have to put that on him. Skink Star Priest with Speed of Huanchi. A Pterodon Chief with Arcane Tome. Very nice. And an Astrolith Bear. We got a lot of heroes here. 6 heroes. Maxing out those hero slots. Battle line, we've got 5 Raptidon Chargers, 5 Source Guard, 10 Skinks. Aethervoid Pendulum, Gravetide Maelstrom for our endless spells. And then here's the kicker. 6 Pterodon Riders. I like this. So I've seen Pterodon Riders pop up quite a bit. Most people take like 1 or 2 units of 3, but he's rocking all 6 in a unit. And paired up with the Pterodon Chief, this makes for a very fast hammer. I mean, you can drop a lot of rocks. You'll get about 5 D3 mortal wounds on somebody when you load it up correctly. And that's on top of all the other mortal wounds you're going to be doing to them. So just kind of really plays into the mortal wound aspect of this army and gives you a fast piece that can move across the board incredibly fast and drop some mortal wounds. So I like that one. Nicely done. Next up, we got some Koatl's Claw lists. These I think I've got 4 Koatl's Claw lists. They all went 4-1. This one's from Michael. He's taking Spellcasting Savant with his general is the Source Astrolith Bearer with Arcane Tome. So I like that. I see that one a lot. We've got a Skink Oracle on Troglodon with Heavenly Frenzy, so you can run and charge a unit. Croak in a Koatl's Claw list. There's actually quite a few Croaks that popped up in a lot of the Koatl's Claw lists I was seeing. So with the Slann getting more expensive, I think that if you're going to take a wizard, a heavy point wizard like this, it's probably going to be Croak. He's not going to do as much damage as he would in like Fangs of Sotek. He doesn't have as much usefulness in Koatl's Claw, but he can still pump out a lot of mortal wounds when paired up with the Astrolith. He can still put one of them through the Troglodon, so that's nice. So Astrolith has Vengeful Defender, so you can move a unit in the hero phase. Pterodon Chief, which is nice because it's a fast unit. Does he have any Pterodons in this list? No, this is just a super fast hero. Skink can shoot across the board. Has utility there for only 90 points. You might see him lined up on the board edge to get like surround and destroy. He might be able to circle around the back of an opponent and grab an undefended objective for, you know, capturing it with a skink unit. So Pterodon Chief is nice. 90 points, so cheap. Source Guard, 20 warriors, 10 warriors, 10 warriors, 10 warriors, yes. And a battle regiment. So he's probably, what, 2-drop? Yeah. So I like this strategy here of Koatl's Claw, because look how many warriors we have. Whew, nice. We got 50 warriors in this list and then 5 guard. So these 20 warriors will do some damage, but the other ones probably aren't doing too much damage, but you almost don't care because your Troglodon is given a -1 to hit aura. All your Saurus are -1 damage, +1 save. Plus you can get out another +1 to save from Croaks. So you should be able to keep these guys pretty tough. And what you're trying to do is you're just trying to get them to come into these warriors and get stuck down because of all your debuffs, and then hit them with Croak with the Mortal Wounds. So I like this. It's an interesting playstyle for a Koatl's Claw list where you're able to bog them down and hit them with Croak. So I like that. At least that's how I would play it. I'm not quite sure how Michael did it. He's a good player. Went 4-1 at a GT with it. Another Koatl's Claw. This one's from Basil. We've seen Basil. He does very well with Seraphon. He's a really good player. A spellcasting savant, as you tend to do. We've got a Skink Starseer with Hoarfrost. What are we going to put Hoarfrost on? Probably the reinforced unit of Kroxagor here. Or Warriors if you need to just get some heavy rend on something. And we have a reinforced unit of Source Guard. So even the Source Guard would be an interesting option as needed. So we have a Starseer, Lord Croak, an Astrolith Bear with Vengeful Defender and Arcane Tome. So kind of the same setup there. And that's it. Oh, that's all his heroes. Just 3 heroes. Okay, I like that. I'm guessing he's going all in a battle regiment here. Reinforced Source Guard to keep Croak alive. Source Warriors, and then a reinforced unit of Kroxagor. Cool. With some Hunters of Huanche. Those guys are nice. And Koatl's Claw gives you some movement shenanigans. And then Gravetide. Cool. I like that list. Got some Kroxagor work in there. This one's from Daniel. He was at Adepticon. He went 4-1 with this Koatl's Claw list. And we've got a... this one surprised me because we have a Source Old Blood on foot. And he did well with this list. So that was cool. Overshadow is his grand strategy. So he needs to keep his battle line alive and kill off the other battle line. So he's got 2 units of Warriors and then a reinforced unit of Kroxagor. Not the most battle line I've seen. So interesting how he was able to accomplish that. But I guess if he got enough damage output, he can kill off some battle line. Source Old Blood on Carnosaur with Thickly Scaled Hide. I like this one. I guess this is probably why he didn't do like Spellcasting Savant or anything, because he wanted this Old Blood on Carnosaur as his general, so you could get that Thickly Scaled Hide. Such a nice command trait to give him +1 to save, so he's out on 3-up save. That's what the Carnosaur should be anyway. And then Blade of Realities gives him a little bit extra rend and maybe damage if you're fighting the right target to give him a little bit more punch. Old Blood on foot with Sotek's Gaze. Okay, so I see what he's doing now. So if he can move on that Old Blood onto objectives and just shut other people down from that objective, and that's almost a throwaway unit. If you need to score an objective, you can very easily with that Sotek's Gaze. But he'll run with those Warriors or Stegodons or anything he needs to help capture those objectives. Man, imagine that Source Old Blood with the 2 Stegodons. That'd be nice. I'm guessing the Carnosaur runs with the Stegodons that we'll see here in a second. Pterodon Chief. Starseer with Hoarfrost and a Pterodon Chief. 2 units of Warriors, a big unit of Kroxagor, which I like. 2 Stegodons, yes. I like the Stegodons. And then 2 units of Pterodon Riders. So this list kind of has quite a bit. He's got a lot of options here. We've got some fast Skink Riders with the Pterodons and the Pterodon Chief to go along with them. We've got 2 Stegodons, which just pair really well with the Old Blood on Carnosaur to have them double shoot. Or not double shoot, but both of them to get all-out attack and shooting, or all-out defense and melee, both of them. So I like that combination there. and then some objective scoring abilities. So, yeah, pretty cool. Throw the Starseer's 5-up ward on the Kroxigor maybe, and make them a tough unit to chew through. So, I like this list. It's kind of a jack of all trades here. I really like it. All right, and my last list here is another Koatl's Claw. This is from Dean. We've seen his name pop up quite a bit. He always does very well with Seraphon. And Koatl's Claw with Grand Strategy Continuous Expansion. Nice. Going a little bit different than, Spellcasting Savant, which is kind of the default for this season. So what do we got here? We have a Skink Oracle on Troglodon with Heavenly Frenzy. Very good pick. A Scar Veteran on Agrodon as our general with Vengeful Defender and Sotek's Gaze. Okay, I think I've seen Dean running this this setup on the Scar Veteran on Agrodon before, and I like that. Vengeful Defender is always good because we're going to have some Agrodons here that we want to move in the hero phase, and then Sotek's Gaze help you capture objectives. Once this guy's used up his Vengeful Defender that has all those targets taken care of, and has used his once per battle ability on the Agrodons, just send him to go grab some objectives. Skink Star Priest with Horror Frost. What are we Horror Frost in here? I would imagine you're putting that on the Agrodons if you're sending them off turn 1 or into whatever target you need, but it's a Star Priest too. Okay, interesting. Does the mortal wounds on the Agrodon Lancers and then can buff up the Warriors after they've gone on. So cool. One Stegodon, which is really good for score and battle tactics and a good piece overall. And then some Hunters of Huanche for 80 points. Nice little skink unit for 80 points. That comes in exactly 2,000. Nice. And let's see. It looks like that's probably a 1-drop. Nice. Okay, I like that. 1-drop with quite a bit of beef in it. So, all right, cool. All right, that's all the lists I had for today. Let me know if you played a game recently and what you've been running, or if you've got a game coming up and you're going to run something interesting. I've got a tournament here, just a one-dayer in a few weeks. I think I'm going to take a Kroxigor heavy list. And then the U.S. Open here in the Dallas area, right here where I'm at, is going to be happening next month. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm kind of torn on what I want to run for that because that'll pretty much be my last tournament of this edition, probably. So I want to do something fun. Might be Kroxigor, might be Stegageddon for one last try. We'll see. All right, guys. We'll see you all next time.